Hi, I'm Veronica Wasek with 5-Minute Bookkeeping, and I help creative online sellers to set up, organize, and streamline their financial systems, whether you want DIY, done with you, or done for you financials. Today, I am talking to my e-commerce sellers and demystifying a lot of the information out there about sales tax. So I will be talking about the 5 essentials every e-commerce seller should know about sales tax. The 5 essentials every e-commerce should know about sales tax. Yes, I know sales tax is complicated, and many of you I know are still figuring this out because I have talked to many of you and you're very concerned about your sales tax and staying out of trouble. So let's go ahead and get started and look at the 5 essentials that you need to know. Number 1, you have to understand that the rules have changed and that there's a lot to keep up with. Many things have, as I said, have changed. And so my biggest advice is don't rely on what you're seeing on your online forums, in your Facebook groups, and the things that your friends or colleagues are saying. You need to make sure that you're keeping up with the latest rules, which is what I'm sharing with you, at least as of the time that I'm recording this video. Number 2, every state has different rules. So sales tax varies by state. It may even vary by jurisdiction within that state. So there's a lot to keep up with because every state has different rules. So that's number 2. Just know that the rules are different by state. Number 3, you need to understand what Nexus is. So what is Nexus? I know it's kind of a word we don't normally use. Let's define what Nexus is. According to the Sales Tax Institute, Sales Tax Nexus defines the level of connection between a taxing jurisdiction, such as a state, and an entity such as your business. So it's that connection between a state and you as a seller. Until this connection is established, the taxing jurisdiction cannot impose its taxes on you. So if you don't have Nexus, if you don't have that connection, then that state cannot impose its rules on you. So how do you establish that connection? One is physical presence, which is what many product-based businesses have been familiar with. You would collect sales taxes on the states where you have a physical presence, either a state where you have your business, where your business is located, a state where you may have some warehouses, but you would have to have a physical location in that state. Well, now there's economic nexus, and economic nexus allows states to look to criteria beyond physical presence in evaluating whether that seller, whether you have a connection to that state. So then they're able to look to factors beyond just physical presence. In June of 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the ruling between South Dakota and Wayfair Inc. And this allowed South Dakota to begin collecting sales taxes based on what we now call economic nexus. And because of that, and since then, many states, about 40 states, have now enacted their own economic nexus rules. So number 4, then what do we need to know about economic nexus? Here are the things that you need to know. Every state has different rules. So every state, as I said before, every state has different sales tax rules. Every state has different economic nexus rules. Many of them have set up a threshold. So it may be a dollar amount, it may be a number of transactions, but then you need to just be aware that there are these thresholds, and until you meet those thresholds, then you may or may not need to file or register in those states to collect sales taxes. In the state of Kansas, however, there is no threshold. So that throws a kink because now we have to worry about the state of Kansas and whether you have economic nexus in that state. And so I highly encourage you to see if you have sales in the state of Kansas, to then look into their rules, specific rules for registering in their state and collecting sales taxes. Number 5, now we need to be concerned about marketplace facilitator states. So another layer of complexity to make it even more complicated. So with marketplace facilitator states, if you sell via the big online marketplaces, and we're talking about Amazon, Wayfair, Walmart, Etsy, some of those big marketplaces, then you are likely impacted by these rules. And under the marketplace facilitator laws, the obligation is imposed on the online marketplace. So again, Amazon, Walmart, Wayfair, Etsy, the rules are now placed on those marketplaces to collect and remit sales taxes on your behalf if you sell on those marketplaces. So you may have actually seen some notifications. I know a lot of you who are Amazon sellers got notifications from Amazon letting you know that, hey, effective this date, we're going to start collecting and remitting sales taxes in these particular states. So while this is great because you may not need to register to collect and remit sales taxes in these marketplace facilitator states, you still need to be aware that not every state is a marketplace facilitator state. Yes, it is complicated. There's a lot to keep up with, so I'm going to share with you some very useful resources. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here's some great resources from Avalara. The first one is the Find Your Nexus resource, and you can go ahead and click in the states in which you're doing business, the states in which you're selling. So it would be states in which you're selling, states in which you may have inventory stored. And when you click those states and click next, and in fact, you may even select all if you wish, and then click next, you'll be asked to fill out some information, and then you'll be able to see your results. Another great tool is the sales tax laws by state. And you'll see that you're able to then select specific categories. So for example, marketplace facilitator laws, when you click that, then you'll see all of the marketplace facilitator states in this light green color. If you want to look up the states that have rules around economic nexus, then click on that. And then you'll be able to see in blue all of the states with economic nexus laws. And then as you scroll down, you'll see this really helpful table that goes state by state, showing you all of the different rules that apply to that state. Next, we have the state-by-state guide to economic nexus laws. So here's another resource in which, again, you can just look at each state and then see the enforcement date, included transactions, and very important, the sales transactions threshold. If you remember, I was talking about that a little bit earlier, that many of these states have these thresholds, and until you meet those thresholds, then you don't have to worry about collecting and remitting sales taxes. So we'll see Alabama, Arizona, etc. They'll list each state. And finally, a state-by-state guide to marketplace facilitator laws. And again, they're listed by state, and then give you a summary of what those laws are, and then a link to click and learn more information about each specific state. You'll find the link to these resources in the description box below. Make sure that you bookmark them. Definitely check them out, bookmark them, and refer to them from time to time because, as I said, the laws change on a regular basis. And so make sure that you're keeping up with what's going on and if there are any changes. I'm Veronica Wasek with 5-Minute Bookkeeping. If you're ready to let a trusted and reliable pro help you with your e-commerce accounting, make sure to check the description box below to learn more about my services and how we might be able to work together. Also check the description box for my free resources, including my free guide for showing you the biggest mistakes that creative online sellers make when hiring an accountant. And also look for the link to join my Facebook community where you can ask questions and interact with our community of over 7,000 members. And if there's any content that you'd like me to do in the future, I'm here to help you. So make sure you leave me a comment and let me know what that is. If this content is helping you, make sure that you comment, like, share, and subscribe to this channel so you can get all of my latest videos.